Today we have the privilege of speaking with Matt Caldwell, our highly skilled property appraiser. Matt plays a crucial role in assessing property values across our community. Thank you for being here, Matt. As many of you know, TRIM notices have just been released, which provide essential information about property taxes and valuations. Matt, one of the most common questions I receive is, can you explain the property appraisal process in Lee County, specifically how properties are assessed and valued?
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for having me come to talk about it. It is a pretty consistent question. A couple of things to think about. First of all is, let's talk about it in terms of like a house. We are going to look at your property as of January 1st of each year, and that's important to remember. All of the process we conduct is based on January 1st. The value is based on that date and how the property is situated. So whether you made that your full-time residence, so you qualify for homestead on January 1st, all of the ownership characteristics, that's the important date. But we're going to start by looking at everything that sold last year, particularly in your community, in your area. We're going to take all those sales and, in simple terms, boil them down to the big parts. What's a pool worth? What's a bathroom worth? What's a quarter-acre lot worth? You take all of that information and then add it together again downstream to come up with the value for your property based on what happened last year. Takes us about 8 months to go through that process, about 550,000 properties in Lee County, so it's a lot to get your arms around. But that's what then gets produced and put in that TRIM notice, which lets the taxpayers know this is what we've come up with after analyzing all of last year's sales.
Many homeowners find themselves disagreeing with their property assessments. What resources do you provide for these individuals to help them understand their assessments or contest them if necessary?
Yeah, absolutely. So we encourage everybody when they get their TRIM notice to call us, come into the office, use our chat service online. You get the same folks whichever way you interact with us, and talk to us about what you are concerned about, whether that's you don't show the exemptions that you thought you had turned in an application for, we need to get that resolved immediately, or if it's a question you have about the valuation of the property and how we arrived at that conclusion. We find we resolve anywhere from 90 to 95% of people's questions every single year through that informal process, just that conversation with our team. Ultimately, you as the homeowner, you as the property owner, are going to be the biggest expert on your property. You're the one that deals with it every single day in a way that none of the rest of us can. So that communication is always going to be invaluable to us. As I say, we resolve most of those questions informally, but if for any reason we just can't see eye to eye, and that's okay. Everybody's that happens from time to time. You have what's called the valuation appeal process. We don't run that. We participate in it, but it's run by the third party, the clerk's office. They organize it. They are who you would go to file your petition. The due date for that is September 17th, typically, and you file those petitions, and they will lay out a calendar of hearings where we as the property appraiser and the homeowner, and if they retain an expert on their side, will come and testify about the question at hand. And again, we still have an attitude, we really want to resolve it. So just like in this last year, there were about 4,000 appeals filed last year, and we only went to hearing on about 150. So we resolved the rest of them, again, through that informal conversation post September 17th.
It's great to know. And you know, speaking of the homestead, a lot of people don't understand what the portability is. Can you explain that?
The benefits of homestead are twofold. One is the absolute whole number deduction you get from your value. So depending on how much your property is worth, it's either $25,000 or $50,000 that gets deducted straight off the top. But in addition to that, you also get what's called Save Our Homes, which means you've got your just value, your market value. Now you take off that, for a lot of homeowners, $50,000. So now you've come down to this new number, and then that number can only go up by essentially 3% a year. So as long as you own the property, even if the market goes up 30%, your actual taxable value is only going to move 3% as a homesteaded property owner. What that means over time is you're going to have a big difference that's grown between these two numbers. Your market value's gone up. If you've been in the home for 30 years, that could be substantial. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in value that you aren't being taxed on. And my predecessor, Ken Wilkinson, about 15 years ago recognized this is a real obstacle for folks who want to change their situation in life. You know, you had the single family house while you raised the kids, but now they've all gone off, they're married, it's just the two of you. You want to move and downsize into the condo, but all your tax savings means, man, it's going to be a huge hit if you go to the new place. So that's when they passed portability through his advocacy. It allows you to take that difference between those two numbers and just move it to your new place. It's capped at $500,000, so even if you've been there long enough to have more than that, you can only take $500,000 with you, but it's a pretty significant tax benefit to be able to take that and carry it to your next property down the line.
I have personally used that, and I know it is a huge, huge advantage.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah.
We love that. Okay, well, I know the tax estimator is a cool tool that we use all the time. Can you elaborate on how this tool works and why it's such a valuable resource to our community?
Sure, so you take that scenario we just talked about. We were talking about the homeowner selling and moving to the new place. All right, well, you've got a buyer on that transaction for that old house, and of course that seller had been there for 30 years, had that huge tax benefit. That's not going to be the situation the new buyer's going to be. The new buyer's going to come in at full value. These are going to be the same number. And they need to be aware of that and cautious, make sure that they discuss with their realtor about making that part of the negotiation potentially if it's big enough difference in the new taxes. But figuring out what those new taxes are going to look like is what our tax estimator allows you to do. So if you go on our website, we actually have a video now that shows you how to go through the process right there on the homepage, but you'll find the tax estimator as part of the individual property details. So you look up the house you're wanting to buy, you'll see a link, click tax estimator, and it'll take you through the steps, how much you think the property is going to sell for, whether you as a buyer have your own portability to bring over. If you don't, then you're going to be at full value, and that'll be calculated. But it'll help you calculate either way what, based on your individual circumstances as the new property owner, your tax bill is going to likely be next year, and help you understand that as you plan for your purchase and long-term ownership.
Right. And when a client asks you, what do you think my taxes are going to be? It's great for them to be able to have that tool to go to, because it really takes a lot of pressure off of us, because you guys have that. So.
Well, 1,000%. And probably one of the biggest complaints that we get in the office are folks who, for whatever reason, didn't talk about that with their real estate professional or their closing agent, and so didn't understand that last year's taxes with the previous owner is not what their taxes are going to be the next year, and you can imagine they're pretty hot when they call us. So making sure to have those open communication certainly helps all of us.
Thank you, Matt, for sharing these insights. It's clear that LIPA, LIPA's the website, is an invaluable resource for residents. We appreciate your time and expertise today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I also want to say that our Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association has endorsed Matt for Lee County Property Appraiser. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Vote for Matt.